Welcome to a Client First template walkthrough. I'm going to walk through how we built this web page, how we built this template with Client First. We'll be going into Designer, deep dive into the class structure, deep dive into real working live examples of Client First. And of course, you can clone this. This is available in our resource center for clone. Let's get a look at this. Nice, beautiful, clear web design and absolutely free. We have a whole resource center. We're going to continue growing this with beautiful websites using Client First for you to clone, learn, and use. Let's get into Designer and see how this is built. We're inside Designer. We're going to go through every single element on this page. We're going to see how Client First is used in this real world example. And we're going to get a really good understanding of how to use our component naming, our custom class naming, and how it all comes together for a very clear and organized site. We just looked at the visuals. 25 seconds ago in this video, you saw the visual of this page, and we're not going to look at the visual anymore. Client First should be so clear to us that we can open up everything in Navigator, read through it, and understand exactly what it is on the page. So that's our goal here. We're going to review everything. We're going to be super clear about how to use this in the real world. All right, before we open up everything, I'm going to start with the outer structure, the core structure, one of the 3 recommended global class systems of Client First. And that starts with our page wrapper. This is really good for copying, pasting to other parts of your site. It's also really good for applying an overflow hidden to prevent horizontal scroll. If you're not using CSS sticky, you can apply this overflow hidden and there will be no horizontal scroll on your page. Really, really useful. As I open up, we'll see the nav and the footer outside of our main wrapper, because remember, the main wrapper is all about wrapping the primary page content. What this page is about, the hero header, the testimonial section, the review section. And of course, the reason for this main wrapper is tag main. Remember this, tag main. This is the accessibility add-on. This is the reason why we have this main wrapper. Let's zoom back in. Let's keep going deeper. We have the sections, section dash section name. So we have our section home header, section home stats, section feature, section home service, section process. Notice how we're using the home keyword prefix when we are doing something specifically for the home. This is a section just for this home page. This is a section just for this home page, a section just for this home page. And notice how these don't have the name home in it. It's just section features. It's also a symbol, which is telling me this is probably going to be used throughout the build. So notice how that one keyword of home is telling me this is for the home page, or this has potential to be used elsewhere in the build. Really, really helpful. Already we haven't even gotten into this inner page structure, and already I have a lot of context about what's reusable on this page and what's custom to the home page. Let's continue going deeper in here. We can see our page padding, and let me get back to the styles panel here with a zoom out. And we have our page padding. Look how global this is. 11 on this page, 40 on other pages. And we have our universal padding. If I were to change this, it would change globally for the build. So every single time that we want this left, right, overall padding for the page, we're going to use our page padding. We decouple page padding from other classes like section classes, like container classes, so that we have the ability to not add this to a section. Maybe we want a full-size section. Maybe we want a full-size image in the background, and we want to further nest that page padding deeper inside our structure. That's why we decouple it. That is why it is all on its own. Let's keep going deeper. We have our container with large. This is going to center this content on the page with a margin left auto and a margin right auto. And it's going to apply a max width. This is 80 rem. If you don't know what rem is, go ahead into the docs, go to the sizes page, and we have a video explaining why we're using rem and a nice conversion chart showing you exactly what this is. If you're new to rem, give it a build or two and you'll be a pro. Do not worry. Let's keep going deeper. Inside our container, now is where we get into our components. So we've just finished the review of the core structure. Page wrapper, main wrapper, our section, our page padding, our container width, and now inside, that's when we're going to get into more custom classes. That's when we may get into more symbols. That's where we're going to see more of the visual side of the page. And we start that off with the home header component. Look at how we're naming this component. Home header is the component name. Underscore in client first is indicating that this is a component and that home header is the component name. And we're always going to put that outer parent wrapper with the component keyword. So we know when we see this component keyword, this is the outermost parent. And if I were to copy paste this, I can copy paste the entire component to another page or another section. Awesome. Now, this happens to have styles on it. This has a grid layout. It doesn't necessarily need to have classes. Just because we're putting a class on something doesn't mean it needs to have styles. This one has styles. I'm sure that we're going to get to a component that does not have styles applied to it. That's okay. We'll get to that when we get to it. Home header top row, home header bottom row. So if I'm on the home header, I can probably tell that there's a top section and a bottom section. And that's exactly what this is saying. The top row, the bottom row. And if we go deeper in, we continue to see this really clear prefix of home header. This class is created for the home header, for the top row of the home header. This is created for the content wrapper of the home header. And I can continue opening this up. Let me just open up the entire section here so now we can actually go through the individual elements in here. So we have our top row, we have our content wrapper, we have our square box. And this square box is specific to this home header. You'll see as we go through this build, we actually have a new global that's added just for this build that handles some of the square design in this page. This one is specific to the home header, so it gets the class for the home header. Awesome. We have our heading right on the tag. We don't need any classes on this. It's our default home H1. Look at this margin top with the margin medium nested with our global text typography class. This is part of one of the recommended 3 global class systems, are typography classes, and we have our text style muted. Cool. And look how frequent this is used. 21 on this page, 49 on other pages. So this is a super, super global class. If the client says, hey, this is actually a little too low in opacity, no problem. We can actually just go and increase this for many times throughout the build. Awesome. So this is a perfect execution of using this global typography class system. Then we have our margin top. Nested right inside is our primary button. Now this is another benefit of separating these spacing classes from the actual elements. Instead of applying these margins direct on the element, we have this beautiful symbol that is nested right inside of our spacing. So if we wanted to go and change this, we could say, great, let's go ahead and change it. Bam. We have now changed the spacing from margin large to margin medium with no effect on this symbol. Let's keep going. Our home header image wrapper. We have our home header image. This is super, super clear as to what this is. If you were to look at the home header and you look and you see an image, that's what it is. It's right there. There's no other explanation needed. If there were 2 images, maybe we'd need to be more specific. Image left, image right, image large, image small, or image team, image product, whatever. We can be as specific or as not specific as needed. But if I look in the home header, I'm going to see the image and I know exactly what this class is created for. Cool. Now, this is a great example of creating a new global class system inside the build. Let's look at this. This is not part of the home header component. There is no home header prefix here. There is no underscore. This is a custom class, and this custom class is actually going to be used as more of a global class system throughout all the pages. Let's look at the stripe vertical wrapper, box stripe vertical. So we have some add-on classes. This one is specific, one on this page, but look how we have more on other pages is left out, and we have 5 on this page, 5 on other pages. So we have stripe vertical wrapper. Now, let's look at what this is doing for us. Stripe is a keyword that we are using for these graphic visual elements on the build. Box stripe horizontal, box stripe vertical, stripe horizontal wrapper, stripe vertical wrapper. I've now just returned really valuable classes when I'm deciding if I want to add more of these graphic elements inside the build. So maybe I'm brand new to the build, maybe I'm picking up somebody else's work on the team, and I see this box stripe, this stripe vertical, these kind of keywords. I can go and search for those keywords inside the class panel, and I will return a lot of very useful information for me to go and continue building in this site. So let me undo this. We're going to continue looking at examples of this. Let's look at the box stripe vertical. Look at this, 15 on this page, 15 on other pages. So this is clearly not for the home page. It's clearly not for the header. It's not specific to any of those. It's a new type of class. It's not a component. It's custom. We're going to fit it into a global system. And look what I have when I search box. Box corner, box group corner, box square small, box stripe horizontal, box stripe vertical. Really useful return of class search. So as I continue going through this build, as I continue trying to reuse these important visual classes, I have a really nice list of returned classes from this really good use of keywords. So let's go and put this back in there. We're definitely going to see more of these throughout the page. So I'm going to continue moving forward here. Where were we? Box stripe vertical. Bam. Cool. All right. Good. Now, we're on the bottom row. That's it for the top row. We have, again, back to this home header. We can mix and match these other global classes inside. Just because it's a custom class inside the home header component doesn't mean it needs to have the home header component tag, the home header component keyword. But now we're back into the home header. This class is created for the home header. We have one on this page. It's not going to be on other pages, and that's what this is about. So that's why we've named it as so. We are continuing to name things, and this is a great example of something that doesn't have a class, doesn't have a style, excuse me. There is no style on this, but we have named it with the component name with a very clear description of what it is. And here's why. We did need an inner class here. We absolutely needed this. And because of that, we do not want to leave div block. We never want to have a blank div block inside our build. Why? Because when we hand this off to a client or when a newbie comes in to go and edit, they're going to go and make a change, and then we see that. This is the death of your Webflow build. This is the double death of your Webflow build, and we don't want that. So if you need to put an element on the page, don't leave it blank. Instead, name it as something, and then you can go and continue building. Make sure you give it a name so that when somebody goes in to make that change, we don't have a new class. It makes sense. You can continue working with a lot of clarity. Great. And as we open this up, we don't need any custom classes in here. We have our text size small, and our text size medium, working wonderfully into our global typography system. Let's go into the home header here. Home header client logo row. It's telling me exactly what this is, and this is the client logo. Great. Now, that's the entire home header component. We just went through everything. Every single thing in here is named so I understand what is going on. If you hand this off to somebody that's never seen the website, they can have a pretty good idea of what this home header looks like. And maybe even they can draw out this home header of how descriptive it is. We know there's a logo row. We know there's a logo. We know there's a top part. We know there's a bottom part. We know there's an image. We know there is a piece of content. We know there's a heading. We know there's muted text. We know there's a primary button. I bet you could draw this out without seeing the design, and that's what Client First is about. Class names that are so clear that you actually can visualize the design by just reading the class names. Let's continue, and we'll see how this continues to work throughout this page. We're in the Home Stats section, and Home Stats, again, is another component on this page. It's for the home page. It's for the stats section of the home page. So we have our section Home Stats. Go further in, we have our outer structure, outer structure, outer structure, and we have our text style subheader. Perfect. So this is a great example of a class that this developer has created, and it's not even part of our default Client First clonable. This was created specifically for this build. They created this subheader because in the design, there is a subheader and they want to continue reusing that style throughout the build. So this was created, really good job, love it. Let's continue into the Home Stats title row. Inside, we have a heading large, awesome. This is a change of the normal H3 size. So we have a default size on our H3. That's going to be 2.25, awesome. And this one happens to be a bit different. This one's larger than normal H3s in the design, so we give it a heading large class on top of that tag. Home Stats component with an alt title wrapper, that's going to be wrapping an H4 again with a size variation. And we have our margin top, nice global spacing use with our text style muted. Awesome. Then we have our Home Stats image row. It's telling us exactly what this is. It's the row of images. We have a wrapper around images, and you'll see inside our builds, we like to put by default, a div wrapper around all images. There's a few reasons to do this. Number one, in case you want to change the element type, you can do that very quickly. Maybe I want to make it a link very quickly. I can go ahead and do that. Also, if I want to apply some type of visual outside of the image, we like to do that on a separate div. So you'll see throughout a lot of Client First that we have an image wrapper div around pretty much every IMG tag. Awesome. So we have this image wrapper. This one actually does have some styles applied to it. And we have a stats image. Awesome. Look how clearly named this is. Clearly named, clearly named. We have our stripe, our box stripe, our vertical. It's all right here being used again in this section. We saw the same thing in the home header just above. Cool, cool. Now we're on the bottom row. So again, very clearly, we have a top row, we have a bottom row. If you're looking at this visual, you know this is the top, this is the bottom. The class is telling us this. Home Stats, bottom row. And in this instance, the developer did want to put margin top directly on this custom class. This is allowed. You can do this. Remember, Client First is not about strict rules. It's about guidelines and strategies. So there is a reason why there is a margin top on here. Maybe because they're using a parent wrapper that has flex or a parent wrapper that has grid, or for whatever reason, we do not want to wrap this entire bottom row in a spacing wrapper. That's okay. I can go ahead and apply this. I don't want to do this for every element. I want to really take advantage of my spacing classes. But if I need to apply it direct to a custom class, I can go ahead and do that, no problem. Home stats, number row. Again, really clear. Look at this. We have a symbol. It does not have the home keyword, but it has the stats keyword. So before I even jump into this, I'm thinking, well, this has to do with stats, but it's not necessarily specific to the home page. And we have a symbol, which is telling me even more that it's not specific to this section or this page. So if I open this up, I'll see we have our stats underscore number wrapper. So this is our stats component, not our home stats component, but it's related. It's using that same keyword. I have some relation to the home stats and the stats, and this is being used on other pages. So look at how we are using naming. We're using component naming to relate this to this home stats, but clearly show that it's being used elsewhere in the build, and to encourage a new developer or a client that has some Webflow skill to go and reuse this stats component somewhere else, not on the home page. Awesome. So there we go. This is a great execution of symbols, of new components, of more global components, of symbol. Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. We have our text size extra large with an add-on class of text weight semi-bold. Again, great use of this typography global right here. And we see again our horizontal. I think before we were looking at vertical. So there we go. We are using the same structure, our box prefix. We have our stripe keyword, and now we're going horizontal instead of vertical. Awesome. So we have this same thing with our stats wrappers, and then we have our text button. And this one is specifically for a piece of text that is a link. Awesome. Let's get into our section features, and this one is a symbol. Let's continue going deeper in here, deeper, deeper, deeper. Nice. We have our features component. So this one, it's telling me as a developer jumping into this build, this is not specific to the homepage. I don't see any homepage keyword. I do see a features keyword. And since it's just features, there's no more context into what type of features or where the features are, that this is features that can be put anywhere. That if I want to drop the features component on a page, I can go ahead and do that. Features is a very global term and a global name, and that's what that's telling me based on this naming. So, and actually, there we go. One on this page, two on other pages. That's exactly what this is for. We can see our grid layout applied direct to this. Remember, client first does not have global flex system, does not have a global grid system, does not have a global column system. We recommend applying this direct to the custom classes. Why? If you want to make edits to this, whether it's on desktop or mobile, later on in your build, somebody else comes in that doesn't understand your system, that's a mess. I want to be able to go in here and say, I'm editing the features component for every single page right now. No roadblocks, no learning a system to make this very important change. And I can very freely edit on desktop, tablet, and mobile. Awesome. So we have our component. Remember, this component name is the outermost parent of this component. You can see it's nice cutting this content real well. And I can continue going into this features component with the title wrapper, with the nice, again, this use of the subheader, the heading, margin top with class. So look at this beautiful use of our global typography and global spacing, so we don't have to make a custom class for every single element. Features list. Features square box. Okay. So we saw some box keywords. That's a keyword that we're using throughout the build, but this one in particular has to do with our features component. It's not part of this global system that we have up here for box or stripe. We have our features square box. Cool, that's okay. It's telling me that this is specific to the features. If I edit this, I'm only going to be editing the square box inside the features component, not every square box on the site. Cool. Let's keep it going. Features, item, features, icon wrapper, features, icon. Totally clear. That is very clear. It's an item, there's an icon wrapper inside, and there's an icon. And then there's text probably right under that icon or to the right or left of that icon, and we'll continue going in. Great use of the global typography and continuation of this features component. And all of these look to be the same. Awesome. With, again, our stripe horizontal wrapper. Great. See, look how global this is. There we go. And because it's so global, we are not creating a component around it. Although we could create a component around it if we wanted to organize ourselves like this. That's the beauty of Client First. That it's all about organization. It's all about being able to search for things. It's all about being able to understand what something is doing. And that's exactly what this is doing for me. And look at this. Look at how we use our combo classes here. Is second box, is third box. Great. All right, let's continue going. Where'd I go here? There we go, home service. We're now in a different section here. We have our page padding, our content width large, padding vertical. That's our content, our, what the heck is that? That's our structure, our core structure. And now let's get into the actual component here. We have our home service component. Inside, using the max width small global class system. This is different from the container width large. We like to use our classes of container width size specifically in our core structure to max width the entire set of content. This max width is more about containing a single element or a few little elements to stay within even more of a max width inside of the container max large. And this is being used wonderfully. Look at this. We have a max width small, giving it a smaller max width of 48 rem. And I can continue going in here to see our home service CTA wrapper and a nice subheader, a margin with a little bit of space, a nice heading, and a call to action. So I can read through this and I know what's going on here. This is a call to action section with a piece of text, another piece of text, and a button. Great. Let's get into this home service list. Home service item, home service icon wrapper. Look how clear and organized this naming is. Great use of our icon global class system. This is one of the useful or other global classes. This is going to help you really quickly size icons and keep those sizes universal throughout the build. Awesome. We have our home service text wrapper. Good. Great use of components. And I think these are all the same here. Yeah. Item. Awesome. So all of these are identical. We just went over that. Great. Let's go into the process here. We'll get deeper into the core structure. Deep. And there we go. We got the process component. I can go copy paste this to another page. It is even this is part of a symbol. So you can apply symbols direct to the component. You can apply symbols to the section of a page. So this is on a section. This is saying I want a component with all of the page padding, with the content max width, and so on. So I can go and take this entire section and put it on another page. I can also, or I can do this instead. I can put a component on, I can put a symbol on the actual component. So we have process component. I can symbol this, and then I can optionally change the type of padding that's on the outside, or change the container width that's on the outside, or decide to add page padding or not. So you can put symbols anywhere here. We don't have any rules about symbols, but you have a lot of flexibility by putting the symbol either on the component or the section. So great use on the section here. I can reuse this anywhere in the build. And because we do not have that home page keyword, it's telling me this is not specific to the home page. This is the process, and the process can be put anywhere in the build. So we have our process component, we have a title row, and inside the title row, we have max width small. Again, great use of that max width global system that is inside our container with large. Cool, we have the subheader, we have a margin with a heading large, with a paragraph, nice. Box, group, corner, again with our boxes. This is great. So let me go and just refresh our memory here. We have all of these really nice box classes that we can search for. So the group corner, this is telling me that this is a group of boxes. That's what I would guess here. Let's go and remove that. Let's open this back up. And let's look deeper into this box group class, the box classes here. Look at this. We have a box corner. We have a nested box corner with more box corner classes with combos. Let's look at these. You can see box group corner is top right. This is telling me what this is. It's telling me exactly where it is. It's telling me what it's doing. It's grouping boxes in the corner and it's on the top right. Let's see if we have other combos available to us. Great. So anytime I want a box group corner, I can say, is it small? Is it on the top left? Is it on the top right? So this one was on the top right. Then we have our box corner class, which gives us a nice box percentage base, really cool, so that the group corner can actually change the size of whatever these box corners are. The box group corner can change the size of the box corners. And in here, box corner with an add-on combo of inner box. Awesome. So look at this use of the box class is bottom box, is right box. This is a whole global mini system for this box visual design. So this is a really, really good example of taking client first and then adding more to it based on your build. This developer is taking the concepts of client first, the keyword concepts, the search concepts, the combo class concepts, and transforming it into a mini global system that works for this site. Awesome. Let's keep going. And we have our process list with a whole bunch of items. And in between each is a process connector. So these are being created specifically for the process component. And look at this. We're using our hide mobile landscape right here. We're able to optionally hide or not hide these with this add-on class. This is part of the useful global classes for responsive visibility. Let's open up this process item. Check this out. All of these are being created. These classes exist for the process component. Great, great job. Very clear. It's telling me exactly what this is doing. Awesome. Let's get into here. Continue going. And where am I? Section home review. This is telling me that this is the review section of the home page. Super important. We have that home keyword telling us it's for the home page. And you guessed it, all of these are named with this component. Home review title wrapper, content left. We have the image wrapper, the image list. Anytime we are creating these classes for the use of our home review, we now can organize them inside this component name. And let's look how powerful this is inside client first. If I go home review, I can return all of the classes that have to do with home review. So every single one of these classes is created in this build for the right of home review. So if I need to clear my classes or clean up my classes or reuse my classes, I can go and do a class search for every class that's created for home review. Or maybe I want a home header, and I can search all through my home header classes. Or I want to search through my process classes. This is the power of keywords. This is the power of searching for your components. And this is why we do it in client first. So you can actually search for a complete list of all the classes that have to do with a certain component or a certain concept, a certain keyword, and that is why we do it. Really, really powerful and a really good way to stay organized. Remember, there are no official rules with component naming. When to have a component, when to have a global system. It's all about your organization based on your website and making sure the next person that goes into your build has a really good understanding of how it works. Let's get back into this navigator panel and continue through this page. As we continue through this build, we have our blog section. Now we have our home blog. This is very clearly telling us that this is the home page and the blog. Great example of not needing to have the section name the exact same thing as the component name inside of it. This is telling us home blog, but this is not saying home blog. That's okay. This is giving us context into what this section is. And this is actually not specific to the home page because I don't see this home keyword. This is something that's either being used on other pages already or has the potential to be used on other pages throughout the build. And you can see here, one on this page, one on other pages. This is not part of the home page, so we do not have that class of home blog or blog home component. This one is being called the blog author list component. And this is telling me that this is a blog component that specifically does not have the author in it. Maybe this is a client request that just in this specific list, we're not going to show the authors, and that's why we're calling it the blog author list. And we see this on another page. This is totally part of client first and okay to name. It's all about organization. So if blog author list is the best way to describe what this blog component is, this is a very appropriate name here. So we have the list wrapper, the list. This is how we want to name our dynamic lists. List wrapper, list, item. Perfect, very clear. We have our item link. We have our image wrapper, our image, our content wrapper. We are using our global spacing and our global typography. Really clear, really nice component. I can go and copy paste this blog author list component anywhere throughout the build and it's going to work just fine. Awesome. Let's open up this newsletter, and inside the newsletter, we have our core structure. Awesome. And then we have our newsletter component. Great. Again, a very general name, not specific to the home page, and this tells me I can go use this newsletter elsewhere throughout the build, and maybe it already exists. One on this page, two on other pages. Perfect. We have our box globals right here. Awesome. We're using our max width. Awesome. Great. Love it. Love it. Newsletter component. This class is being created for the goodness of the newsletter. And we have our form wrapper, our form, success message, error message. Okay, I'm really glad we come through this example. Let me show you what this means. So you may notice this is not part of the component system. And actually, I'm going to change this. This one should be. This is not. So let's see what this means. This is newsletter form wrapper. This is a class that's created for the newsletter component, and this is a class that's created for the newsletter component. This does not have newsletter in it. It does not have a component name in it. It's just form-input. So what does that mean? What is that telling me? That's telling me this is more global than the newsletter component. This class is not created for the newsletter component. It's created for a form. It's not even a component form. It's just the form. So that's telling me that this is being reused on all different types of forms. And look at this, 5 on this page, 19 on other pages. It is telling me it's global by not having that component and by just having the form keyword. If this said home form input, then it would tell me that it's part of the home page. This form input is specific to the home page, but it's just form input, which is a really general term, which is telling me it's a really general class. Excellent. Same thing here, form message success, form state content, form success icon wrapper, and this is global created classes for the form elements inside our form, inside our newsletter component. Really powerful here. This is a great way to do it. This is how we can stay organized in Client First and tell the person that's editing the site, be careful before you're editing this. This is not specific to the newsletter. This is something more general here. Really good. Then we have a pop-up. Where did the pop-up go? Okay, this collapsed. We have a contact pop-up component. Awesome. So this is a component on this page for contact pop-up. Again, not specific to the home page. I know this can be used on other pages. So we have the modal, we have the close button, the close icon, the title wrapper. Awesome, awesome. Love it, love it. Using again a component, but a different component. This is the contact pop-up component, and nested inside is our contact form wrapper. Now this can be used elsewhere. It's telling me that this is a component that maybe it's inside the contact pop-up, maybe it's inside the newsletter, maybe it's inside some other part of the page. It's a super general term. It's being used on other pages. This is very clear to me that it's not specific to a page or a section. It's the contact. Awesome. Great use of the form. Again, with this form dash, we're not putting this in a component. It's telling me that it's a super general class here. And super general class, it's not inside of this contact component. It's not created for the goodness and for the use of the contact component. It's created for the general use of all things forms. Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. And all of this is really general for our form. Great. Okay, so this is, hold on. Don't forget the footer here. We have our footer component. We have our page wrapping inside. We have our container width large, top wrapper. We got these boxes. Awesome. All of the correct principles are being followed here. Great. So we have the bottom wrapper, the top wrapper. All of these classes are being created specifically for the footer, and that is why they are named like this. Great, so we just did a full review of this page. This was a really nice example of using Client First in the real world. In a real example, on a site that could be built for a client, on a site that could be built as a template, you can go ahead and clone this, change the component names as needed. Maybe you want this home header to be the about header. Go ahead and change that, all those component class names from home header to about header. And go ahead and maybe the process is specific to the features page. So you can do features, process, component. You can go ahead and change these names. That's the beauty of Client First and the beauty of using these unified keyword component names. If you have more questions, keep watching these videos. There's a lot of documentation here. Read through the mindset, read through the classes. Go check out those videos in the classes page. Check out the videos in the mindset. And as you continue using Client First, it's going to get more easy and more easy. As we continue building more resources, they will all be in Client First. So if you learn this system, you are going to be a pro at everything that FinSuite releases. We'll be here. We're listening. If you have changes, if you think something is great or think something needs to be improved, let us know. This is a constant, ongoing project for us.